Thanks for joining. I'm Josh, also known as Bagel Finagle, and today we're going to teach you how to grow sunflower. So for the grow, we use a 3-tray system, 2 that are solid, and right here in the middle, we have one that has these drain holes. We'll get to the reason for that in a bit. We also like to use this weight. It helps germination, and I'll tell you more about that process in just a second. So the next step you need to do is take your tray with drain holes, place it into one that is solid, just like that. Now after you do that, you want to go ahead and put your medium in. I use soil. Okay, so we got about 6 to 8 cups in this tray. And remember, like I just showed you, we have the solid tray on the bottom and then that tray with the holes right here on top. So now the next step is to go ahead and get all the soil loose. Okay, you see some of it's clumpy. It's depending on what media you're using, if it's coco coir. You could even use a mesh system. We'll get into that in a different video. For now, let's just stay focused on soil grows, all right? Soil is the media that we're using today. So I want to go ahead and take the edge right here of my spade and run it into the soil. What I'm trying to accomplish is I want to break all of these clumps up, okay? That's going to help with watering, that's going to help with even germination, and it's going to help develop strong root systems. So we'll go ahead and jump into this, crushing this up. Look, it doesn't have to be perfect, but the more attention that you pay to detail in the beginning processes, the better grows you're going to have. And the more consistent you are with your technique, the better grows you're going to always have. So I'm crushing it through. Everything's looking good. Okay, now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and even the tray out. So I got most of those clumps out. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, but now we're going to go ahead and take the flat or the round of our spade, and I'm going to run it along the edges, along the sides, in the middle here, and we're going to try to even this out as best we can. Okay, you want a nice even plane to plant your seeds on. It's going to help overall the growth. As far as specifics, it's really going to help water distribution. All right, everything's looking good here. I'm going to catch this one corner right there, guys. And as you become more proficient with your technique, how long that just took me, maybe 40 seconds, you're going to get it down quicker, much quicker. Beautiful. Okay, so now we've prepped our tray out. We evened all this media out. The next step is to go ahead and give it a good mist. Now we're going to give it a mist because as we put our seeds on, you want, I don't want to say a hard surface, but that surface tension when it's wet is definitely increased versus when the soil is dry, right? If I run my hands through it now, I'm going to leave some marks. As we spread that seed around, you're going to have to put your hands in every once in a while and maybe maneuver some seeds that you accidentally spilled a little too much in the corner. So you want a good mist over this tray in order to be able to do that efficiently. So here we go. I'm going to begin. Look, there's no magic way to water a tray, especially when you're just prepping it out. The main thing is you want to go across the tray, make sure you get that whole soil bed pretty damp. Doesn't have to be soaking, but we're focusing here on getting the whole entire tray wet. All right, everything's looking good with that. We'll go ahead and wrap that up. Okay, so we're going to prep the sunflower to soak. It's going to soak for 4 hours, and we're going to soak 100 grams of the Greener Harvest sunflower. All right, so I have our scale here. We're going to remove the lid. I really enjoy soaking in a mason jar. It keeps the product safe, and it's much more simpler when it comes to that planting process. What do y'all soak in? Do you soak in maybe Tupperware or something like that? Let us know in the comments. So I'm going to tear out the scale, zero it out, and open up our sunflower. We're gonna go ahead and put 100 grams in here. 80, 90, ooh, 98, real close. 100, perfect. So now what we'll do, move these to the side. We'll grab this, shut that down, and we'll go ahead and take our jug of water here, and we're gonna soak these sunflowers. Now it's really cool to work with really good seeds, high quality seeds, because as you see there, the water is pretty still transparent, right? There's not a whole lot of anything in that water. So that's really good to work with high quality seeds from Greener Harvest. Great germination rates, great seeds. I haven't heard anything bad about their seeds. So now we got that there. I'm gonna cap this. I'm gonna give it a quick spin. There we go. Quick spin just to get all those seeds wet. All right, we'll be back in 4 hours here to go ahead and plant our sunflower. Okay, it's been 4 hours for our black oil sunflower seed. We've soaked it, so we're gonna go ahead, strain it, rinse it off, and start sowing. So guys, I love this black oil sunflower seed. It's got a really high germination rate, 98%. I'm not fussing about one seed. I'll leave that one in there. So with a good germination rate like this, I really advise you to do a couple of things, all right? Make sure, one, that you're monitoring your grows, because as your germination rates get better with higher quality seeds, you actually have to use less seed. So here we go, we're rinsing this off. Okay, just like that. All right. Okay. There we go. Now I'm gonna move this. And we're gonna go ahead and start sowing the seed. So once again, I really like to wet the surface of this tray, of the soil specifically. So when we start maneuvering the seed around on this bed here, it maneuvers easily. So if you can imagine, just this dusty soil, and you're trying to push seeds and maneuver seeds, it's not gonna work real well, all right? So having a damp surface kind of increases that surface tension and allows you to maneuver these seeds a lot better. All right, so I'm moving everything around here. I'm loving it. All right, getting it in these corners. All right, so anytime you soak a seed, you're really gonna have to be hands-on with it on moving it around the tray. A few different reasons. When you soak these seeds, they kind of stick together, right? So that's the main reason, honestly. Moving stuff around here. Everything's looking good. I see a little pile right there. We want to get this as even as possible. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, but the more attention you pay to the finer details, the better quality grows you're gonna have, and it becomes second nature. And once it becomes second nature, you don't even know that you're doing it. It's just part of that process, and as you repeat that process over and over, you get really good at it. So we went ahead, we straightened this tray out. Everything's looking good. The next step is to go ahead and get our sprayer back one more time and give this a really good mist. Okay, so as we're misting this, I'm thinking out loud here, these germinate pretty fast. So within about 3 days, this is actually ready for blackout. And the cool part about working with Greener Harvest seeds is the fast germination times. Not only the high germination rate, but the fast germination times. That way you can meet deadlines and make some money a little bit quicker, right? Instead of a 7 or 8 day grow, this is about a 6 day grow here. All right, so now we've sprayed this down. We're gonna grab our third tray, solid, stick that right on top, and then we're gonna follow it up with the paver stone. This paver stone indicates that this seed is now in germination. Okay, so it's been 24 hours for our sunflower. I'm gonna remove the weight remove the top tray here, and we're going to look at the germinating seeds underneath. A couple of things that you need to take into account. If you're really hands-on with your grow, you can do this twice a day, once in the morning and then once on the back end in the evening, or however your schedule see fits. All right, so right now we're starting to see some growth. No signs of mold. That is one thing that you really need to look at. And something that's going to help you with that mold, again, is always sourcing high quality seeds. Everything's looking good, so I'm going to grab the mister and we're going to top water these crops. Now later on in the video we'll swap to a bottom water, but for right now you have to understand the root systems are in their infancy, so they're very young and they need the most water they can get from the top here. If we bottom water this, nothing's going to happen, right? You're just going to soak your soil. All right, so a light mist like this, and that's more than enough to see these through to another 12-24 hours. We're going to go ahead and put this tray back on top, just like that. And we're also going to put the weight back in, and this is going back into germination.
It has been another 24 hours for our black oil sunflower. We're gonna go ahead, check this out. We're gonna take this weight off, pick the lid up, give it a couple of taps in case seeds are stuck. And guys, look at the difference in germination from that previous segment to this portion. And what we're looking for in this germination process is any sign of mold or deterioration of seeds. Sunflower is one of the ones that is more susceptible to mold conditions due to some of the seeds not germinating. You have that dead seed, so that seed itself will cause mold. So you want to catch it at this stage where you can just pull them out and you'll be able to notice those dead seeds. The difference between mold and root hair is mold is going to be spider web like, and it's going to be on the seed itself, whereas that root hair is going to be fine like hair fibers that are on the shoot root itself. Okay, so that's the difference. Also, root hair is going to disappear when watered, mold will not. That this stage is when people become confused on is it root hair or mold, and that's the two main differences, so that you can take note of what you're looking at. There's no mold in this tray. Everything's looking great. Okay, we're gonna go ahead, finish this watering up. We're gonna take this tray, put it back on top, and then we're gonna put that brick on top, and we'll be back in 24 more hours. It has been another 24 hours of growth for our sunflower, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove this brick. I'm gonna take the lid off. You can see these guys are growing good. They're slightly taller. These are gonna stay under weight for another 36 to 48 hours. We're gonna continue top watering, and you're also gonna continue to look for mold at this stage. And again, mold is going to look like a spider web type of material. It's going to be centered around dead seeds. It's going to be centered around any debris that you may have in your soil. And root hair will be white, very fine like hairs along the root system that will disappear when you water it. Mold will not disappear when watered. All right, guys, so we're going to put this lid back on. We're going to put this brick back on. And I'll see you guys in another 24 hours. It has been 24 more hours for our black oil sunflower. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the weight. I'm going to let you guys take a look. Everything looks great. It's growing very well. It looks like I accidentally knocked a little bit of a wheatgrass seed in here. That's okay, we just pull it out and go about our business. So, of course, we're looking for signs of mold. Everything looks great. All the seeds are good looking. So we're going to go ahead, top water. We're going to leave this in blackout for another 12 to 24 hours. That's going to help these husks push off of the shoots, okay? So the biggest complaint with sunflower is people hate fighting with the shoots when it is time to harvest and package. So this method helps prevent them from staying on. All right, guys, we're gonna put this lid back on. Gonna put the weight back on. And we'll be back. It has been another 24 hours for our sunflower. We're gonna go ahead, take this brick off, see what they look like, make that decision on if we're gonna go another 12 hours in germination or blackout. So actually these are great. They're kind of scrunched down. They have a lot of husks that have shed. So we're gonna go ahead and transition these guys into blackout. This will be by last top water. And then starting in the next segment, we'll begin to transition into bottom water. The reason why I'm gonna top water this last time is to help these seed husks that do still remain soften up a bit and come off just a little bit easier. Okay. All right, so now we're gonna take that dome, we're gonna flip it over, and that is blackout. Blackout is when the height comes in, these shoots are gonna stretch, they're gonna be looking for light. So they're gonna grow taller. So in 24 hours, you're gonna see a major difference in height from what we just saw. See you then. It has been 24 hours since we checked on our sunflower that has been placed into blackout. So you should see definitely a big increase in height, and that's what we're looking for in blackout. So these guys are actually gonna be ready for light tomorrow morning. We're gonna give them 12 more hours. You can see the height, they look beautiful, nice even growth. And at this point, what you can do is that top over it keeps these husks pretty damp. So the few husks that are left, you can just brush your hand gently back and forth and just kind of help remove those, okay? So they're gonna easily get knocked off. They're not all gonna fall off at once, but the more that you do this, the more that it's gonna help. And you can see that I don't have a tremendous amount of husk throughout this grow, and that's why. That extra day of weight that we discussed earlier in the video helped remove a lot of them, and then brushing your hand back and forth over these husks helped remove a lot of the remaining. So now we're gonna go ahead and bottom water. We're gonna take this off, and we're just gonna add enough to fill the ridges. Okay, that's plenty. They don't need quite as much water in blackout because they don't get as much airflow, but they definitely need more once they go into light. So I'm gonna go ahead and cap this. You have to work a little bit to get all these guys under the dome because they are stretching and looking for light. So they try to get around the sides. So take a few extra seconds and push those guys in as best you can anyways. Okay, you will have a couple still sticking out. It's kind of unavoidable, but that's okay. So now I'm gonna put these back on the rack in the blackout, and we'll be back in 12 hours instead of 24 hours. It's been 12 hours for our sunflower in that blackout since our last checkup, and we're gonna go ahead and transition this into light now. These guys are tall enough. You can see they look great. Beautiful even growth. A lot of these seed husks have just started to fall off, so you don't have a lot. You can just pull them off or brush your hand back and forth. They'll pop off. I'm gonna go ahead and show you the height on these guys. Okay, they're roughly 4 inches tall. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and give it a quick bottom water. Just enough to coat the bottom. It doesn't need a lot. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video, place it on the rack, and show you what it looks like in light. Okay, they are in light on the rack. We have 2 lights per rack. We have 2 fans per rack. They are blowing across the top, not pointed at the greens. You don't want them drying out. So keep that in mind when you're setting up your rack. But these guys will change from yellow to green very fast. These will actually be ready to harvest within 48 hours. I'll be back in another 12 hours to give you an update. It's been 12 hours of light for our sunflower. You can see that they're already starting to photosynthesize. They're turning green. That yellow is long gone. They are very light green. They're going to continue to darken up. The seed husk will continue to fall off. I'm going to show you the height. The height doesn't change much once it's in blackout. We're going to continue with our bottom watering, just enough to fill the bottom ridges. Okay, we're going to place that back in light, and I'm going to come back in 24 hours. It's been 24 hours for our sunflower. They're totally greened up. Their leaves are completely open. There are a couple that the true leaves are actually starting to come out. If you guys can see here, that's the true leaves. We don't want those to fully emerge. That changes the texture and the flavor of these sunflowers. So these guys are actually ready for harvest. We can go another 12 hours, but they are ready. We don't want this true leaf to pop up all the way. So sunflower has a very short time frame from when the true leaves start to emerge to where they completely emerge. So we need to harvest these within the 12-hour time frame. So when I come back, it'll be showing you how we harvest. I'm going to show you how to harvest sunflower and then give you an estimated yield that you can expect from your sunflower by following these steps, okay? So you choose what you prefer. I prefer to use a utility knife to harvest. Some people use scissors. Some people use shears. It's going to be completely up to your preference, okay? So all you need to do is grab a handful, and you're going to cut about 1/4 to 1/2 inch above the soil, okay? Just keep your fingers out of the way. Be safe with it, especially on your first couple of times. It is awkward. And you're going to do that throughout the whole entire tray, okay? So I'm going to let you watch me harvest. And this also confuses people. Sometimes they think these white fuzzes that they are seeing is mold. With sunflower, they are known to have some that root on top of the soil. So you will still see some root hair. Like this all right here is root on top. I'll pull it out and show you guys up close. Okay, so that's actually root on top of the soil and root hair. Mold will be around seed, and it will be spider web like, okay, not hair like. Okay, like I said, we're just going to repeat this throughout the whole entire tray. One of the things that I did leave out, and I apologize, before you harvest, you want to make sure you've waited at least 12 hours from your last water until you harvest. A dry microgreen is going to provide you a much longer shelf life, okay? So you want dry microgreen, and then you want a food safe dry pack and a closed container, meaning no holes, non-vented. Holes in a container are going to allow for airflow, which is great for things like grapes and strawberries and blueberries, but microgreens will create humidity, and they will become wet, soggy, and they will rot. So dry microgreens, long shelf life. All right, and you're welcome to pick up your little scragglers if you want. I'm not gonna fight with all that. I'm just gonna show you guys what we yielded. I'm gonna get this out of the way. I'm gonna show you what this weighs. Okay, so negative 4.3, this is what my Tupperware weighed. So you actually get 1 pound. If I picked up all these scragglers, we'd have probably 1 pound 4 ounces. So you could expect at least 1 pound from your sunflower. Now, the other thing that I'm going to show you is one of the biggest questions we receive when teaching people is, can you reuse the soil? We do not recommend reusing the soil for microgreens. We recommend composting it or letting livestock pick through it. But as far as using them for microgreens, no. You can see on top of the soil, you have all of these shoots that are still rooted down. And if you lift the soil, you can see this is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of roots. It makes this pad solid. It is not worth fighting the increased chances of mold and bacteria that this decaying matter in the soil would cause. So we do not suggest reusing it for microgreens. Again, composting, livestock, things like that, great. The other question we get that is, can you let it regrow for a second time? You can. Some crops will regrow. It will not be a consistent grow. It will not be an even grow like your original planted grow. Also, with each grow, you're going to lose nutritional value. So keep that in mind if you choose to regrow these products. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and that it was informative for you and you are now ready to grow sunflower.